All right, time now for the All-State Playoff Predictor presented by All-State, where we look at teams just outside, looking in, following the first reveal of the CFP rankings. And you see the teams from 9 to 5. And as I said, I'm looking within the chat, and I see someone that just said, Texas wins out. Do they get in the playoff? We're about to talk about that. Starting at number 9, we see that Oklahoma had a 28% chance entering today. These are all the numbers entering today and has not been updated. We saw Oklahoma get upset, so boom, they're out of the conversation.
Yeah,
so I'm not even going to talk about
yeah.
them. So let's start at number 8, Sam.
Yeah.
29% chance. Alabama, they just got that win against LSU. What is their chance to get into the playoffs for you?
Right, so let's remember, too, this is an Alabama team who have wins over Tennessee, win over LSU now, and a win over Ole Miss. Those are all ranked wins. Now, the rest of the way in the regular season for Alabama is against Kentucky, Chattanooga, and then the Iron Bowl against Auburn. That could be a sneaky one, but let's say Alabama does win out. They're 11-1 when they get to the SEC title game against maybe Georgia, and they win that game. I just don't see how you keep Alabama out.
Yeah, it is going to get spicy. Bama is playing better and better every single week, and what they lacked is a quarterback. That defense has still been dominant. That offensive line still has an immense amount of talent. And Jalen Milroe was a big reason why they got a lot of those sacks early on in the season. They have figured it out, as we said at the top of the show, with the quarterback run game. Yeah. He's gotten more confident throwing the ball. And as he uses his legs more, that's just going to open things up down the field. Now, I said in the chat, you asked if Texas wins out, do they have a great chance? The All-State Playoff Predictor gives them a 26% chance to make the CFP. They do have the best win in the country. As Steve Sarkisian has mentioned many times, you go into Tuscaloosa and get a win against Alabama, you're going to be flashing that thing like a flag to the College Football Playoff Committee and say, let us in. What do we think about their chances?
Yeah, well, there's nobody rooting more for Alabama than Texas is the rest of the way. Texas has TCU, Iowa State, and Texas Tech remaining on their regular season schedule. They're going to be favored heavily in those games. But remember, there were some hiccups earlier in the season. Remember that Wyoming game that was really close? They didn't play all that well against Houston as well a couple of weeks ago. So, you know, certainly there are some questions surrounding this Texas team and absolutely questions about their red zone touchdown efficiency numbers. Those have been suspect. They're one of the worst red zone completion teams in the entire country. Having said all of that, the road is certainly there. They have taken care of business, beating Alabama on the road, like you said, Scoob. So they control their own destiny, I think. And I don't know, you know, they win the Big 12 title. They take down whoever it is, Oklahoma or another team in there. I don't know.
As Texas, you were cheering for Oklahoma, and all they've done is disappoint you the last couple of weeks. Now, as I said, I'm looking in the YouTube chat, and someone said that Oregon is going to stay at 6. And Oregon looked dominant. Yeah. They've been one of the most dominant teams in the entire country. 63-19. They are doing exactly what we say when it comes down to this point of the season. It's not just if you win. It's about how you win. Yep. And they showed us how dominant they are. 28% chance to make the CFP. How do we feel about their chances to get in and move up possibly on Tuesday?
Yeah, I mean, they haven't scored less than 33 points in a game this year. That's how good Oregon has been. Remember, they scored 81 points in their opener against Portland State, and then they just put up a 63 spot against Cal earlier tonight. So, yeah, they have USC next week. Then they have Arizona State, and then they finish up at home against Oregon State. So there's a couple more ranked matchups along the way. If they keep playing the way that they have been, when they went into Salt Lake City and beat up on Utah the way they did last week, I don't know. It's hard not to even make a case that Oregon is like the hottest team, maybe the best team in the country right now.
And that's what the YouTube chat is saying. I see y'all. Oregon is legit. That message just came in. It is so true. Quite frankly, I think Oregon, had they not lost to Washington, they're the number 1 team in the country. Now, we saw them basically give that game to Washington. Yep. But a win is a win. And I got to respect the fact that Washington got that win. So number 5 is Washington. Washington just got their win against USC. what a barn burner, what a shootout. But the thing about Washington that's been a worry, and Boo Carrington said it on the ranking show with Reese Davis earlier this week, that they've struggled the last 2 games, and their defense has not looked playoff caliber.
No.
21% chance to make the playoff. They have the least percentage out of all the teams that we just talked about.
Which is amazing to me.
So how do we feel about their chance to make it?
I don't necessarily understand the percentage points, because you talk about a team that holds their destiny in their own 2 hands, Washington, right? I mean, they have a tough schedule coming up. I think they got Utah on the schedule. They play Oregon State, and then they finish with Washington State at home as well. Those are their 3 remaining games. I don't know. You're right. The defense is certainly of a question mark. The Arizona State game, I know Michael Penix Jr. has been fighting with the flu the last couple of weeks. He certainly looked okay tonight. So I think if he continues to play the way that he did tonight against those teams that have good defenses like Utah and like even in Oregon State, they can.
Someone just said Oregon State is better than Oregon. Oregon State is the giant killer. I don't know, man. Come back to the show some weeks from now when we talk about that game. Those 2 teams.
Oregon State's struggling with Colorado right now, so I don't know.
Are you willing to put your chips in for that one? That they haven't finished their game up yet? I love the activity going on in the chat, but I think it's safe to say that the chase for these teams to get into the top 10 or the CFP is on. Give me something.